projects in Franconia District. Before we begin, I would like to review some guidelines so everyone can participate and get the most out of the session. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube, then linked to the project webpage. Microsoft Teams does offer a live caption service. You can find out by clicking the three little dots at the top of your screen and turning on the live caption button. Once the presentation is completed, we will begin the question and answering portion, during which participants will ask their questions out loud. The chat feature has been disabled for this meeting, and we will not be taking any written questions. If you are on the phone, please hold your questions to the end. We will have instructions for you also. We do encourage you to use the survey for any comments also for today's meeting. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge those who are attending from Supervisor Left's office. I believe, Aaron, do you have anything you would like to say before we begin?
No, I don't have anything, but Supervisor Left should be on soon as well.
Okay, okay.
Thanks for everyone for being here.
Okay, once he gets on, if we have started presenting, we'll give him time at the end of the presentation to say some remarks he will like. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move to the presentation part of the meeting. We have Hannah Kackner. She is a transportation planner too from the Fairfax County Department of Transportation Active Transportation team, and she will be presenting some projects that we're proposing right now with the repaving program that is a part of the VDOT's 2026 program. All right, Hannah.
Yep. Good evening, everyone. As RP mentioned, my name is Hannah Kackner, and I am an active transportation planner with Fairfax County Department of Transportation. And tonight I'll be talking about FCDOT's role in VDOT, the Virginia Department of Transportation's repaving program, and also presenting our proposed striping improvements for Franconia District. And I'll also add that we typically hold these meetings in the spring with VDOT, so I'll also be sure to talk a little bit about why we've made the switch in the schedule. So I'll just start off with a little bit of an overview on the program. Then we'll get into our proposed striping modification, so any new proposed bike lanes and crosswalks in Franconia District. And then finally, we'll move on to the question and answer portion, and then also just go over some instructions on how to submit feedback on these proposals. So each year, VDOT and FCDOT collaborate on providing safety improvements for all roadway users as part of VDOT's annual paving program. And that process starts with FCDOT reviewing VDOT's draft paving list and just identifying any opportunities for improvement, which can include new crosswalk markings, bike lanes, and road diets. We'll sometimes propose other striping improvements, but those three are definitely the most common that we do. And then from there, FCDOT develops striping and signage plans for implementation right after each road is repaved. And FCDOT leads public engagement efforts, and then once striping is complete, we'll install any bike lane and crosswalk signage. And so, as I mentioned, there have been some recent changes to this program. Typically, we hold the public meetings for any proposed bike lanes and crosswalks in the spring, right after VDOT publishes their annual repaving list. But after some discussions with VDOT over the summer, we decided that it would be better to hold the public meeting several months in advance of the 2026 repaving season, just to provide more time to create the striping plans for everything, for the bike lanes and for any project approvals. And so the proposed bike lanes and crosswalks that we'll be talking about tonight are on VDOT's draft repaving list. So the final list will not be published until the spring of 2026. So it's very possible that some of these roadways will not end up on that final list. So typically roadways that do not end up on the final paving list are just deferred for a year or two. So any approved new bike lanes or crosswalks would just be deferred as well, and then ultimately added once the road is eventually repaved. And then again, just a reminder that each of these projects is still fairly preliminary and are still subject to approval by VDOT and whether or not each roadway ends up on the final repaving list. And so each year, as I mentioned, FCDOT and VDOT add a number of new bike lanes through the repaving program. And a big reason that we do this is to repurpose underutilized roadway space. Many of the roadways in Fairfax County were built with much wider than necessary travel lanes or too many travel lanes than are really needed. And this can lead to some safety issues like speeding or inattentive driving. And repaving gives us an opportunity to right-size those roadways by narrowing travel lanes and converting additional lanes into bike lanes or center turn lanes at relatively little cost. And this also helps us implement our planned bicycle network, again at relatively little cost because it's much less expensive to add new pavement markings when the roadway is already undergoing repaving. And this is an example of some bike lanes that were added through the repaving program a few years back on Annandale Road. And so as you can see from the photo, you get a really nice traffic calming effect through adding those bike lanes. And with that additional striping, drivers are just given a visual cue that the roadway has been narrowed, which has been shown to slow down vehicles. These are the three types of on-street bicycle facilities that you'll see in Fairfax County that we're able to add through repaving. We don't usually add sharrows anymore, and we try to add buffered bike lanes wherever we have the width, just to give cyclists some additional separation between themselves and the vehicle lane. And although this program only allows us to stripe bike lanes, adding that buffer just gives us the option in the future to add physical barriers to the bike lane, like flex posts or concrete barriers through other funding sources. And this diagram just shows a categorization of the 4 types of cyclists that we typically see in Fairfax County. And while we're not able to build trails or protected bike lanes through this program, we are trying to provide as many buffered bike lanes as possible where we have space to try to appeal to a broader range of riders. And this is just a little diagram of some of the benefits of bicycling infrastructure, just kind of showing that bike lanes provide a lot of safety benefits for all roadway users, not just cyclists. And so moving on to the first of our proposed striping projects, we are proposing to add bike lanes along Southgate Road from South Kings Highway to just west of Richmond Highway by removing some underused street parking. And these would provide a nice connection to the bike lanes that are planned to be added along with the future BRT project on Richmond Highway. And so in order to add those bike lanes, we would need to remove about 60 parking spaces on each side of Southgate Drive. And I'll also add that some of the parking along this road was recently removed in order to help with some sight distance and other safety issues. And we do have a survey that will be open for 2 weeks following this meeting, which will provide you with the opportunity to weigh in on all of these projects. And I'll have a link to that survey at the end of the presentation. And for this roadway, you'll be able to choose in the survey between repaving the roadway as it is, so just keeping that parking there and not adding the bike lanes, or removing all the parking and adding bike lanes to each side of the roadway, or just adding a bike lane to one side of the roadway and preserving half of the street parking. And I definitely encourage everyone to take the survey and spread the word about it to others who might be interested, because the survey results will help Supervisor Lusk make an informed decision about which projects to move forward with this year. And then this is just a street view photo of what Southgate Drive looks like today. And so we are also proposing to add a short segment of bike lanes on either side of Elder Avenue, right outside of Forestdale Elementary School. So on top of adding a lower stress bicycle connection to and from the school, adding those bike lanes and restricting parking in order to do so would help alleviate some sight distance issues and also provide some additional space for school buses turning into and out of the school. We've heard from Supervisor Lusk's staff that the school buses currently have a hard time maneuvering around the parked vehicles on that road. So removing that parking and adding the bike lanes is one way to help with that. And then the bike lanes will also help visually narrow the roadway and will hopefully address some of the speeding issues seen on this roadway. And then here are a couple of street view images of what Elder Avenue looks like today. So as you can see, it's not very wide, so there's not much space for the buses to get in and out of the school with the street parking that's there. And we're also able to add new crosswalks through the repaving program. And this year we have one new crosswalk proposed for Franconia district. And in order for VDOT to consider adding the crosswalk when they repave, any curb ramps at the approaches to the crosswalk have to meet the current ADA standard. So we are a little bit limited in the number of crosswalks that we're able to propose, just because those ramps have to be up to date before they add the crosswalk. And then sometimes we do need to restrict parking on the approach to the crosswalk to ensure that any parked vehicles don't block the driver's view of people crossing the street. And then you'll be able to weigh in on whether or not to add this crosswalk in the survey, since some of the parking would need to be removed for this one. And so our proposed crosswalk location is crossing Hunter Village Drive at Jewelweed Court, not too far from the Jerry Connolly Cross County Trail. Unfortunately, there wasn't a ramp there in place, so we weren't able to add a crosswalk at the actual trail crossing, but this isn't too far from there. And we would need to restrict a few parking spaces to meet site distance. And again, you'll just have the option to say yes or no to that in the survey, which we'll talk more about at the end of the presentation. This is an aerial image showing where the crosswalk would go, and this yellow line right here just shows the 3 parking spaces that would have to be restricted to meet the site distance requirements. And so that just about wraps up my presentation for the evening. But before we move on to the Q&A portion of the meeting, I just wanted to make a couple of notes on community feedback. So if you have any comments related to either paving, draining issues, missing signage, signal repair, walkway repair, any site distance issues related to vegetation overgrowth, any just vegetation overgrowth issues in general, those should all be submitted to VDOT. And they have the resources to handle those. And you can do that by following this link to the My VDOT portal. And then if you need to request any roadway repairs, such as fixing a pothole, you can follow the I Need a Road Repaired link on the VDOT portal or call 1-800-4-ROAD. And then we also have a link up here to our repaving webpage, which also has a link to the public feedback survey that I mentioned a few times, as well as proposed project scopes. We'll have a copy of tonight's presentation and then also a recording of the presentation posted up there, usually around like midday tomorrow. You can expect that. And then just any other information relevant to the repaving and restriping program. And then just once the meeting's over, I definitely encourage everyone to take our survey and submit feedback on these proposals, because the survey and any other comments sent to us will be used to determine which of these projects move forward. And so, actually, I saw Supervisor Lusk join. So before we move into the Q&A portion, I just wanted to welcome you and see if you had any remarks before we get into the Q&A portion.
No, thank you very much. I'll just go quickly and say thank you for those who are on this call to learn about what can be done with the restriping, and also to give us some pretty important feedback on where you are on the proposals that have been suggested in this presentation, and just look forward to hearing what your thoughts are, and then also any questions that you might have. So, and thank you to the staff for putting together these materials and providing this great opportunity for those to learn about this restriping program.
Thank you, and thank you so much for joining tonight. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on to the question and answer portion of the meeting. Ryan Paul is just going to go over a few instructions on how to ask questions before we begin.
Yeah. It's great to see people know what to do already. That's great. So we will now start the question and comments portion of the presentation of the meeting. You may either ask a question verbally by raising your hand. The hand raise tool is at the top of your menu. To ask your question, I would allow your mic, and you can go ahead and mute yourself. Once you ask your question and or say your comment, please mute yourself. And then we will move on to the next person. If you are on the phone, you can press *5 to raise your hand. When you're called upon by your number, you can press *6 to unmute. So once again, if you're on the phone, you can press *5 to raise your hand, and then *6 to unmute yourself once you're called on. Once you have finished your comment or question, please go ahead and press *6 again to mute yourself. And once again, we will be not taking any questions via chat. So I'll go ahead and call on the first person. Linda, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question or make your comment.
Yes, Linda Hemphill. I'm with Springfield Forest Community, and we're on the Elder Avenue project part. The main question I have, you answered the question already, that for Elder Avenue, we're talking about both sides of the street. So that question is answered. The next question is, are these bike lanes considered 24/7?
Yes, any bike lane is considered 24/7. And I will say, I don't think I mentioned the extent of the bike lanes on Elder Avenue. It was shown in the photo, but they would would end at the second entrance of the school.
Right. I got that. Thank you. So we were talking about from Franconia Road to the south end of Forestdale Elementary School.
Yes.
And if there is any parking that happens during the evenings or whenever, including or during the school time frame, so that would be parking, drop off, all of that kind of thing, that would be enforced?
If someone is parked in the bike lane, that's usually enforced. I will say, as someone who lives near another elementary school in the county that does have bike lanes in front of it, you will occasionally see parents briefly pull into the bike lane for school drop off, and I've never seen that enforced. But certainly if someone is parked there for a long period of time, then that would definitely be grounds for them to get a ticket.
Okay, so we will definitely, I guess in the survey, we'll be able to let you know, but I can definitely tell you that there will definitely be people dropping off within those bike lane areas throughout the school opening and closing. But we'll hopefully can address that during the survey portion. Okay, thank you.
Yes, thanks for your question.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. Someone else had their hand up. Oh, okay. H. Stickle, please forgive me if I pronounced that incorrectly. I'll go ahead and allow your mic, and you can go ahead and mute yourself. H. Stickle. If you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Looks like you might still need to unmute.
Oh. Can you try to unmute yourself now? Okay, we will come back to you. Just keep your hand up.
Oh, wait,
oh,
I think.
there it is. Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. Okay,
Sorry
go ahead.
it took so long.
No worries.
This is
okay.
a general question with the bike lanes. When bike lanes are put into the streets, are the bicycle riders then prohibited from using the sidewalks?
So it depends on like local regulations. I don't think Fairfax County has any laws against riding on the sidewalk, but some jurisdictions do.
Okay, because I read that in Virginia, you can ride your bicycle either the sidewalk or in a bike lane. So I was wondering if this changes the rules on that.
No, it wouldn't change any existing rules around that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to call on Gail next. Gail, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question or your comment. If you're speaking, Gail, we can't hear you.
It looks like you'll still need to unmute yourself. Should be at the top of your screen, the microphone button.
Yes.
Sorry, hello, sorry about
No
that. I
worries.
was trying to
okay.
unmute on the little microphone by my name.
That's okay.
Should have looked up. First, thank you guys very much for this very early preview of what is proposed. We really appreciate it. I have two questions, but I just also wanted to note that I am the board president for our homeowners association. We have 884 homes in the Daventry community, and Hunter Village Drive is it bifurcates our neighborhood. And I'll respond to the survey, and I don't know how many of our residents actually will, but I wanted to just state that we are 100% supportive of a new crosswalk going in on Hunter Village Drive. I heard the comment that it couldn't really go at the area where the trail exits onto Hunter Village because there isn't a proper ramp from there. But a few years ago, I guess it was VDOT, put in really good ADA compliant ramps on all of our townhome entrances. So I guess that makes us ready to be able to accept a crosswalk there. In speaking with Supervisor Lusk's office, Aaron Campbell, he let me know that this is an area that I was curious as to why this particular area was selected. And it's apparently because it's the one crossing area and near a trail entrance that doesn't currently have a crosswalk. So we would very much appreciate one there. And just to add, this is also a school bus stop area. And so kids cross over Hunter Village Drive to catch buses. So that's another safety concern that we have. So we appreciate a crosswalk for that reason as well. We also within our community have a number of trails and pathways that are internal to our community itself. And so crossing from Jewelweed going on to Wintercrest, where it would basically intersect across Hunter Village Drive, we have an internal trail only about halfway up the block on Wintercrest. So this would be a great addition for safety concerns, also to allow us to access our own internal trails. My questions that I have for you is this restriping project for this next round of VDOT going to include repainting existing crosswalks, or would this only on Hunter Village Drive, or would it only be the addition of the new crosswalk? So that's one question that I have.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for all of that feedback and information. And to answer your first question, yes. So they will be paving Hunter Village Drive. They'll be replacing all of the existing pavement markings. So any new crosswalks, the center lane, the bike lanes, everything. And then if they approve the crosswalk, that will also be added as well.
Okay, that's great to hear. And then that takes me to another question. When we did the Hunter Village, we had repaving done several years ago, and we had bike lanes installed then, which was great. But they stopped the repaving at a portion at the south end of Hunter Village Drive and didn't repave that full portion that goes up and connects to Rolling Road. And so would the repaving be the entirety of Hunter Village Drive or just that section that kind of begins at Rockledge Court and goes towards Old Keene Mill Road? If you don't know that right now, that's fine. That's just a question.
Yeah,
Good idea.
I'm not sure, because VDOT hasn't published the official list yet, and usually we don't get the exact striping extents from them. Sometimes they stop a little short of the intersections, for whatever reason. So it's possible that it would be stopping short again. But we have our email address up here if you wanted a more definitive answer. You could reach out to that email address. I'll respond to you that way. And then I can check with VDOT to see if they have those paving extents yet.
Okay, and that would be the email at bicycleprograms@fairfaxcounty.gov?
Yes.
Okay, and then my third and final question is, you had mentioned that there was a yellow line that would require the loss of some parking, but we don't have any parking spaces per se on Hunter Village Drive at all. And most of the east side of Hunter Village Drive is parking is precluded because of the bike lane, and there's a lot of great signage there. So if you're talking about the west side of Hunter Village, just a little bit south of Wintercrest Lane, that parking would be removed there. It's really just a shoulder where cars choose to park. So we don't even recognize it as official association parking there. So I would venture to say we really don't care if it's removed, because the townhome streets that are adjacent to this particular area of Hunter Village Drive all have so our association owns all of our private streets in the townhomes, and we have parking for our townhomes. So I'm assuming that it would be that west side of Hunter Village Drive, and it would I'm just wondering how you would mark that, because it's currently really just sort of gravel shoulder right now. So how you would mark it to to recognize that no parking is allowed there.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, because I initially thought it was no parking as well, because I looked at the street view image and I saw the no parking signs on pretty much every other side as well, and I saw that this was kind of just gravel. So I assumed that parking was not allowed there, but I checked with our on-street parking program manager, and she said that it technically is legal legal street parking. Sorry, but so we would just have to ask about it, kind of just in case. And to restrict it, we would just put no parking signs there.
Okay, so there wouldn't be some sort of a concrete barrier blocking off the area, but if that's what VDOT. Okay, all right, great. Then we can make sure to do reminders in our own community about what those no parking signs mean, and that people can be cited then if they park in front of a no parking sign. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you very much. We look forward to getting this new crosswalk. We have this particular section of Wintercrest is of Hunter Village Drive leads up to our community center, our pool. We have a sports court there, so there's a lot of pedestrian traffic on Hunter Village Drive that crosses over to that west side to get to those amenities of ours. So this is very much appreciated.
Great. Yes, glad to hear. It sounds like it'll be well used if it gets approved and goes in. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Linda, for your support. And please feel free to share out the link to the survey to get more people to fill it out also. Okay, so we're going to move on to Gail. I'm going to disable your mic.
I think Linda. I think the hands were out of order. That was Gail who just spoke.
Okay, Linda, I'll go ahead and allow your mic if you would like to have your question or your comment, Linda. You can unmute yourself.
I think Linda spoke first, and then yeah, but she can answer that. But this is Gail, and I already just finished speaking. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. looks like she lowered her hand. We can
Okay.
move on to Dave then.
All right, Dave, I allowed your mic. You can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question or comment.
Great, thank you. Appreciate you guys doing this and happy to be here. I live on Elder Avenue, so I'm calling about that segment. And I guess this is great to learn this stuff. I guess I've kind of all the questions I have is sort of in that section. Sort of, I'm curious if you know what motivated why to do bike lanes on both sides. And I say that because it seems a little, it's a very short, like 150-yard segment that doesn't lead to or go anywhere. So I'm curious about why on both sides. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just kind of trying to understand. And if they're going to be in that segment, does that mean it's going to connect up with bike lanes that might be on Franconia Road too? Or is it really just that short, super short segment of those lanes in front of the school? Because it seems like it doesn't really get you from anywhere to anywhere. I'm trying to understand that.
Yeah, no, I understand the concern there. It would just be that short segment. It's definitely possible we could have a facility on Franconia Road one day, but the reason we're proposing these is it's more of a traffic calming solution to that roadway. When I met with Aaron from Supervisor Lusk's office about what we were proposing, he actually suggested this just due to some traffic calming concerns on that street and some of the issues with large vehicles that kind of continue to stay parked there, and the buses don't have a lot of room to turn out. So the idea is kind of to alleviate those issues through the bike lanes, and also at the same time still provide a facility for kids who might want to ride their bikes to school from the residential areas. And then another benefit of bike lanes, we've done a couple of other short bike lane segments near elementary schools because something that they do is kind of shift the traffic away from the sidewalk, so it can provide a more comfortable experience for kids who are walking to school on the sidewalk that way.
Okay,
So that's
no,
kind
I
of
think that, yeah, no, that makes sense. I think it will help with that congestion, and the kids will certainly be safer with more visibility there too. I guess I'll just I'll ponder a little bit out loud, then I'll go back on mute. Is that I wonder, because I live on the street, I think sometimes the packed cars on both sides force people to slow down because it's a forced narrowing. So I hope that having it wider open all the way for that mile or 3/4 of a mile stretch doesn't cause people to accelerate sooner or one direction or the other. But I think this is great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for that feedback as well.
Hannah, this is Aaron, the supervisor's
Okay.
office.
Yeah.
Can you is there going to be a center line as well if there are bike lanes added?
Yes, so they would also add a center line to that roadway, I believe. I'll double check with them, but usually they'll add a center line if they're adding bike lanes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move along to PS. I'm going to allow your mic, and you can go ahead and unmute yourself at the top and ask your question or your comment.
Yes, I hope this is germane to everybody. I actually live in another area that got bike lanes last year. I was on your meeting yesterday, but was afraid to speak. So I'll keep it germane. We had bike lanes put in, and there were a lot of lessons learned for our neighborhood. There were a lot of things that had negative things that had happened that I hope maybe you consider as you do bike lanes throughout the community. One thing was there was never a sign posted letting people know that this was happening. I did notice when I drove up South Run after your meeting yesterday, there was a sign prominently posted, which is great. So as far as getting community input, it's really important to have the signs out so people know something's going to be happening to the road so that they can be aware and provide input. That did not happen to our neighborhood. The other thing that happened was the cars have to go somewhere. So in our neighborhood, they pushed the cars from one side of the street where there are no homes, where it was all townhouse people parking there, into the single family residence. So now they're parking in front of single family residence. Also, there was no consideration as far as the blocking of all those intersections. So they went from not blocking any intersections and blind of sight to blocking a whole bunch of intersections as all the traffic moved. So maybe you need to consider like having no parking signs by intersections so people can see, have line of sight when they try to exit an intersection. So it's not just the road that you're putting the bike lane on, that impacts everything because those cars move somewhere. I know for our case, the bus drivers have a really hard time now churning where we were at and everything else. So it's not just the road you're working on. Whatever you do to that road is going to impact other roads. And so I think just something for you all to keep in mind.
Yeah, thank you for those comments, and really sorry to hear about the issues from previous years. I think we try to do our best to advertise these meetings as widely as we can, especially when we're impacting parking, and trying to do a better job with it this year, and especially moving forward.
Thank you, Pass, for your comment in there. Okay, I'm going to move up to Jose. I'm going to allow your mic if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, Jose, and ask your question or give your comment.
Yes, good evening, everyone. We were a few minutes late. Just wanted to ask a question regarding the Southgate bike lanes. Is the plan to put the bike lanes on both sides? We didn't see the map. I'm not sure if you're able to like share your screen, just you can view it real
Sure.
quick.
So in this survey, we'll have the option to do either bike lanes on both sides, no bike lanes at all, or just bike lanes on one side of the road.
Okay, so it will be on both sides of the on Southgate.
It'll depend on the community feedback. So depending on how people respond, if people feel that they want to keep one of the parking bays, we can just add a bike lane to one side of the roadway.
Okay. And I guess
And the link to the survey's at the end.
Okay, and if the bike lanes would be on one side, would be bi-directional versus going with the flow of traffic to making it both sides?
No, if they're just on one side, we'd only have space to do them on one side. So we would add them to the westbound side just because that would preserve more parking spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, this is Lori Cruz here. Good evening. Just again, I want to piggyback off what the other lady just said, that adding bike lanes, you know, you have to take in consideration what's going to happen with those vehicles that are parked alongside. So question number one is, are you guys considering adding bike lanes throughout the Groveton community to help, you know, the traffic flow, or what made you pick Southgate Drive in particular to add bike lanes? Just because, you know, if we're looking for community engagement, and this is going to be depending on who's going to fill out that survey, alongside Southgate, a lot of that is commercial, number one, and second is a lot of the folks live in the apartment community. So I'm interested to know from you guys what made you pick Southgate Drive to add bike lanes.
Sure. Yeah. So it's dependent on the list of roadways that VDOT plans to repave. So we'll get that list from VDOT. It really ranges by district, I would say, in terms of the like secondary roadways where we would typically add bike lanes. So roadways that are not like interstates or highways, because we wouldn't be adding bike lanes to those. So we don't even look at those. I would say typically VDOT will repave like anywhere from 10 to 30 roadways in a community. So we look at those, and that's kind of how we narrow it down. Southgate was chosen because it is very wide, and the lanes are quite wide, so kind of unnecessarily, because it doesn't have a ton of traffic on it. So we wanted to use up some of that width to add bike lanes. I would have to check again, but I do believe in our bicycle master plan, this is a roadway that like should have bike lanes on it, and then also just as a connection to the future bike lanes that will eventually go in on the Richmond Highway, through the BRT project. So we usually just narrow it down through the repaving list from VDOT and then just look at where we have extra space. And again, just proposing it, if we do find that there's a lot of demand for parking on this roadway, based on community input, then we would not, we would have to talk to Supervisor Loss about this because, ultimately he'll be making the decision on which projects to move forward with, but that might be a reason to not move forward with the project.
So I think, and I just want to, reiterate that we are for bike lanes throughout the community, right? The big issue at Southgate, and I don't know if adding the bike lanes will alleviate the issue that we're seeing, because right now the parking is, it's very bad. I mean, it's safety concern because you have construction vehicles parked along Southgate Drive, like right by the Target and the Panera, the shopping center. And so, again, I don't know if Supervisor Vasquez is still on here, but this is a safety concern that it requires immediate action because it's, the parking right there alongside the commercial is big, like your tractor trailers being parked there. So, and if we're, again, putting the survey out for community engagement for them to decide, unfortunately, I don't know how many of those surveys will be filled out, and just being very transparent with you guys right now. So while I appreciate that, we're looking at Southgate to add bike lanes, I feel that right now the main issue is addressing the commercial vehicles parked along Southgate Drive.
Yeah, understood. And this is just one way to hopefully address that. I mean, there wouldn't be anything physically stopping commercial vehicles from parking there, but the police would be able to enforce that. Which I know can be tricky sometimes. There are a lot of parking issues throughout the county, so they have a lot to enforce, but in theory, they would be able to ticket and tow vehicles who are parked in the bike lanes.
Thank you. Those are definitely things that we would definitely want you to hear and know through the survey. So definitely feel free to leave those on the survey and, definitely share the survey as much as you can to your fellow community members and get them to definitely speak their comments and questions too. So thank y'all. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any last questions before we wrap up? Oh, yes, Supervisor Lusk,
Go ahead.
if you'd like to make any closing remarks.
Yeah, I just wanted to say on this issue with Southgate, we can certainly take additional look at the issue and work with the police department to try to address some of the concerns that we've just heard here. We're aware of the commercial vehicles. It's a problem pretty much up and down the corridor, but clearly heard the comments that were just made and recognize that there's some unique challenges, but we'll weigh that with the comments that we receive here in this survey, but we'll also do some additional work with the Mount Vernon District Police Station on this issue as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Any other questions from anyone?
Oh, we can go back to Gail again.
Okay. Gail, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. I just have one question. I see that the comments, and I'm assuming that's via the survey, are due by October 8th. We have a board meeting on October 1st, and so I will make sure to put this issue before our board. I don't know if how Fairfax County Department of Transportation or your office is going to count the interest, but when our board makes a decision, it'll be inclusive of all 884 members, regardless of whether it's just one one comment. So will there be an opportunity for me to share the sort of overall support from our community versus it being viewed as just one person giving feedback in the survey?
Sure. Yeah, in the past, we've had different community associations just send us a letter to the mailing address here, or an email is fine, to the address up here, DOT bicycle programs at fairfaxcounty.gov. So
Okay,
it'll
great.
all be considered.
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you. And I just want to, while I'm still on open mic, just shout out a big thank you to Supervisor Lusk's office for doing such a great job, and to the Department of Transportation with Fairfax County. This is much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, any last questions or thoughts? And if not, we can go ahead and wrap up for the evening. All right, seeing none. So thank you everyone for joining and for your participation tonight. Again, please don't forget to fill out the survey, spread the word about it, or provide feedback through any of the other channels listed up here. Have a great evening.
Thank you all.
Thank you.